Hi, my name is Chris Ramirez, and this is Inside the Mind of a Veteran. It's a new show, so I figured today start out with kind of establishing why I should be talking. Marine Corps veteran, grew up in San Diego, California, around military bases, around law enforcement. Spent 11 years in the Marine Corps, did a 1-year tour in Afghanistan, and now I've recently moved to Bakersfield after bouncing around, going to school, different jobs, things like that. Some of the things I wanted to talk about were stuff like the issues that affect veterans today, PTSD, the VA, things like that. Privatization of the VA. So my point of view is that I have a lot of experiences with being a veteran, or with dealing with the VA system especially. I am a 100% service-connected veteran. It's taken a long time to get there, and it's not just, getting to that point wasn't about trying to get the money or anything else. It was just trying to get all of the issues I had taken care of. And it took almost a decade to get VA to recognize all of my service-connected issues. In addition to that, I've used a lot of the VA education plans, and I've worked as an education counselor or advisor as a veteran program coordinator at UC Santa Cruz, and worked with veterans with the post 9/11, the newer bills, just trying to keep up to date. So I feel that I'm pretty informed about it. I always like to try to read up on these new topics as they come up, and be informed so that way I can share this information with others. I have friends who, as they're going through school, they reach out, ask me questions about it, and I think that's the best way to help each other out as veterans, is just be informed, help each other, provide each other answers, or point to answers. I've had to deal with PTSD now for, since 2005 when I got back from Afghanistan. And, during my time, I had my experiences, my ups and my downs. A friend of mine didn't make it back. And I did like a lot of people did when I first got out of the military. I just kept plugging along thinking I was okay. Worked hard, went to school, just tried to keep myself busy, and it didn't really work out as well as I thought it would. So, I would dabble into therapy or something along those lines. And it wasn't until I had something really fall apart on me that I ended up going and getting a little more serious about this. Since that time, I've tried medications, I've done therapy. I was partnered up with my service dog, Bobby, and through him and supported my family, I worked to make it through each day. It's been challenging. It's had its ups and downs. Like a lot of people, I want to keep to myself. It's easier to not deal with the outside world than it is to try to struggle your way through it. But I've got a wife and 2 kids that have helped me out and give me the push I need to get outside sometimes. And because of these experiences, I'm really passionate about helping out other veterans, identifying the programs that are out there to help each other, or, just even being an ear to somebody to talk to. One of the things I do on a regular basis is I have ongoing chat, text chat with a bunch of the Marines that I deployed over in Afghanistan with. And sometimes it's, somebody reaching out for a quick pick-me-up, or somebody cracking jokes, or usually there's a lot of humor in it because it's a good way to get through with some of the rougher stuff. Earlier this year we had to deal with that. I've had 2 friends die this year, one from accidental alcohol poisoning and another one from accidental overdose. So being able to reach out to those groups of people and support each other, whether it's just talking about old memories of friends or just helping deal with the grief of these situations as they arise, really makes a big deal. It makes a huge difference. And I think that's one of the biggest ways to help with this, to end the 22 a day, is just talk to each other. You don't have to talk about what the problems are, what's going on. Invite a buddy out to a barbecue. Just go hang out and watch a movie. If the topics come up, they come up, but start talking to each other, and that way you kind of have an idea of what's going on. I'm new to the community. I definitely like for any of the veterans organizations here, reach out to me. Let me know what services are available. I've read about some. I've checked into the Bakersfield VA clinic, got appointments with the vet center. But if there's anything else out there, let me know. Let's talk about it. See if we can figure out something to do to address all these issues out there that so impact the veterans. We have people in the White House, or not the White House, but in politics that are making decisions, but how do we feel about these decisions? These are the things that need to come up. One of the newest things I just read is that the DoD is talking about ending the ability to transfer GI Bill benefits after 16 years of service. What do people think about that? I know a lot of people who went to school on their parents' GI Bills because their parents didn't need it. They'd done their 20 years, they had their education through tuition assistance. And, now this program that was put into place is being cut back in the interest of retention and, adjusting budget funds. So, this has more impact on not just the veterans, but on their families. So how does this impact you guys? How does everybody feel about this? We have issues with the Veterans Choice Program. We have issues with, backlogs in VA. I've got friends who are in Georgia asking me, how did you get things done so fast? And when I tell them, hey, this is how long it actually took, it was kind of a shock to them. But we have these issues. We have groups out there that are intending on representing us, but how many people actually voice their opinion to them? I think that's something that we need to do. But I also think it's something that even just locally we can start doing just by talking to each other and kind of working out these thoughts as they come up. How do you feel about the GI Bill being adjusted, or the new forever GI Bill? What about experiences with Voc Rehab? I've had these experiences. I've gone to school with Voc Rehab. It's a good program, but I've heard a lot of people who've had bad experiences. So the only way these differences in the experience get addressed is if we start talking about them. So, let me know what you think. I want to hear about all these things. I want to talk about all these things. I also want to bring it to people's attention who don't necessarily would follow these ideas. Just because a veterans issue impacts me, it does not mean it might impact my neighbor who never served a day in the military in his life. But these have an impact on all of us as a whole because it's how we interact with each other. The dog's got the easy job, he's asleep. But, support each other, find out about organizations. I got lucky and I got linked up with a really great organization. I got my service dog through Operation Freedom Paws, and they help me out, and through that I've made some really great friends. When I have trouble, even just a training question, whatever, I can fire them a message. So building these networks are what I've seen help veterans the most. We can address these issues, we can write letters and everything, but first you got to start by helping each other out. So.
So where are you from? You said you're
I'm from San Diego. I was actually born on a military base, Cherry Point, North Carolina. My dad was in the Marine Corps. Cursed me, or his boss cursed me the day he went up and rubbed my mom's stomach. Said, "How's the little Marine doing?" I met my wife. She was in the Navy, so both of us have feelings on veterans issues. Got 2 kids. One's starting Liberty High School in upcoming school year. Another one's at EMT in Northern California, up in Santa Cruz area.
So what was it like growing up in the military?
My dad he was only in for 4 years, but I grew up around it. I grew up more around law enforcement than I did military. But since San Diego is such a big military town, it was always there. You could see work. Like we'd go when my dad would have to go qualify for the police department. They used the range that was on Miramar, so there would always be planes flying overhead or something. There's always some impression of it. It definitely makes an impression. And you see these movies. Oh yeah. Top Gun out there, stuff like that, and then I'm watching the planes actually fly overhead in real life, and it kind of, gets you interested. I visited places where Heartbreak Ridge was filmed, so all that stuff, the tradition, all that, you start getting into it. I'm the 17th Marine in my family, so it's a long tradition.
I was going to say 17 Marines in your family. That is a long tradition.
Yeah.
Was there any expectation from your family to go to the military?
My dad, the recruiter called my house, asked me what I was doing after high school. My dad said he was dropping me off at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot himself. So it was kind of figured from there on out I was going to go. And, went in with one plan, came out with another, and here I am. 20, I've been with my wife for 22 years. We met, and when we got together, we just kind of came up with this whole plan and figured it out as we went. And with her, my kids helped me out. We've dealt with a lot of this stuff. So.
Did you do a lot of moving around from?
I've lived in. I was stationed at 4 different bases in California. I spent my last 4 years were in Georgia, but out of that I spent 2 years deployed, almost a whole year to Pendleton, and when Iraq kicked off, and then a whole year in Afghanistan. So, we've been around the country a few times.
And you said your wife was also, you said you met in the military.
She was in the Navy.
She was in the Navy, so did you serve together?
No, it just happened that we were going to school in the same place. That's it.
All right, so let's go to a break and we'll come back. We'll talk more about your experiences on the other side of this.
All right, sounds good.
At the time you were arrested, you were served with a DS-367 temporary driver's license. It's good for 30 days, but if you don't act within 10 days, At the end of those 30 days, your license will be suspended. It's important for your lawyer to contact the DMV for you. Set up a driver's license administrative hearing so that your license does not go into suspension. That's something here at Braemar Law we do for you.
I choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
We choose Patriot Bail Bonds.
If the best criminal attorneys choose Patriot Bail Bonds, who would you choose?
Patriot Bail Bonds. We fight for your freedom.
Patriot Bail Bonds has the best customer service in Bakersfield. Patriot has more 5-star ratings than any bail company in Kern County. Plus, we're fast and affordable. If you run into the law, make Patriot Bail Bonds your first call. That's right, one call, that's all.
If you're in jail, call Patriot Bail.
Your home is perfect. Until it's not. We understand that life has its changes. As your family grows, we're here to help grow with you. Because taking care of your family is important to you and important to us. Your story starts here with Cornerstone Mortgage.
All right, so we're back, and one of the things I'll talk about is I have a service dog. His name is Bobby. He's an English Lab. He actually started out in a whole different career path. He started out as a seeing eye dog, but if you've ever met him, he's too goofy for the job. But that goofiness is one of the best things about him. When I first got matched with him, he bit my goatee trying to figure out what it was. And then from there, his goofiness is what helps me get through some of the harder parts. Sometimes when I'm stressing out and he's rolling around on the ground saying, scratch, showing me his belly, scratching my belly pose, or, waking me up from nightmares, he's been a huge help. He also is really good about, he will actually guide me to benches and sometimes even stand up and kind of lean against me so I sit down because he knows I'm pushing myself too hard. It's made a huge difference, because of him. I've actually gone to amusement parks, and the best story I could tell about him is that I went to Disneyland one year, and during the holidays, and I was having to rely a lot on medication, people providing me a buffer, things like that. I went the next year, I didn't have to do that. I went through, during New Year's time, I went with my wife and kids and Bobby, and I didn't have to rely on any medication. I had Bobby. If I got overwhelmed, sit down, take a breather, go from there. I actually I was able to make it through going to school full time because of him. I went from a community college to a big UC campus that had over 25,000 students on it, and he was there with me every class. When I needed a break, he would provide a little buffer for me. Even when talking to people for the first time, if somebody approached me, he would place himself between us just to, hey, there's a little cushion here, you're okay. So, as I've gone through all these experiences, a lot of them were because Bobby was there to help me. He helps me when I'm, when I'm not feeling my best, when I'm, having kidney issues, or my knee bothers me, things like that. He's the first one to sit on my feet and stop me from going somewhere just to take a break. And he actually got to walk with me when I graduated. He got his own little honor cord and everything. So, he's been a huge help. And through him, I met a lot of good people. I actually also, during that time, started checking out the school's accommodations, which made it a lot easier for me to go to school too. I checked out the Disability Accommodation Center. because, with PTSD, I was really hyper vigilant about what was going on. So taking tests was really hard, During that time, people coming in, going out, and I'm looking up, I lose track of my focus. So I was able to start taking tests in a quiet environment. Distraction free, sit in the classroom by myself or something like that, or an office. And the more I got involved in all these things, the more I realized how much they can help other people, other veterans out. I had people asking me questions when I worked as a work study in college, and they would ask me, so, I've got a TBI, or, I've got this stuff that's going on. What do you know about the school? What can they do for me? So that was one of the motivations to get in there. Another was a professor who got me involved with a book about changing the concept of disabilities. She was encouraging, so was my family. So all these different things, I've stumbled my way through them and found out about people. But the thing is, I can help other people out with the issues now. Somebody says, hey, I'm having this issue going to school, especially another veteran. Hey, have you tried talking to these people on campus? They're there to help you out with it. And it's not like they don't broadcast your business to everybody. They will contact your professors for you, and you don't have to out yourself out as having issues. I've also actually while I was working at UCSC, I was talking about whether or not to tag veterans on school rosters and the pros and cons against it. And if somebody wants to self-identify, that's fine, but I think having an identifier on a roster was a bad thing, and I gave out my points. Some people just want to come to school and finish their day. So stuff like that, I've worked through a lot of that stuff. I've looked at the pros and cons of it. I've worked at the other issues about it, and at the end of the day, I can make my recommendations on it based on my information. And if I'm wrong, please somebody tell me what I'm missing. That way we can correct it, and I can make sure that the next person I tell and I'm helping out with this stuff, it's the best information that I can provide to help people out. And back to Lincoln.
So what was the biggest issue you had going to school as a vet?
Just being on campus. Moving with crowds of people. It was just constantly trying to keep track of where everybody was, who was where, what they were doing. Get different languages being spoken on campuses that I wouldn't say trigger anything, but you'd pay attention to it. I had experiences where people spoke languages that I dealt with in Afghanistan, pushing right up behind me, and you'd be alerted to that situation. You go into a classroom, you're having a bad day, and like for me, I didn't like having people behind me, so I would sit in the back of the classroom. Well, there was a couple times, there's one time in particular I can think of that, I'd had a bad morning, I was running behind, I got to class, I wasn't feeling great, and the only seat available was right in the very front of the class, and I just couldn't do it that day. And I went to the campus Veterans Resource Center. I worked on some homework, contacted my professor and told her what was going on, and she understood. But there's so many different situations that can be dealt with on campus, or that most people don't realize. Going to a college campus is a big thing for anybody, especially the first time. But if you're going from a very regimented lifestyle to, you're supposed to do your homework, but it's not going to kill you if you don't. It's okay to show up in your pajamas and your slippers. It's really a culture shock. And then when you go from that you can pile on top of that the issues of I went from someplace where I had to pay attention to everything because my life could possibly depend on it to, this person's talking with their cell phone in their face, and this one's talking about what kind of car they want. Mm-hmm. It's stressful. And it's just something that nobody can out there prepare you for. I mean, it's just, I don't think anybody could see this coming if they wanted to. As veterans, we face a lot of different challenges. And as we go, some of us stumble and fall and, want to call it quits. Some of us keep plugging along. But the thing is, even if you stumble and fall, it's just, talk to your friends. Most military friends give you a good kick in the butt, tell you to get up, keep moving, maybe call you a couple names, but in the end, it's all because we care about each other. And that's the biggest thing that I've gotten out of all these experiences with veterans, is, we care about each other. So.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot to bring. You have a lot to talk about. Let's bring you back next week, and we'll talk some more about some veterans affairs inside the mind of a veteran.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Chris, it's good to have you in for our open mic session, and we'll see you next week.
See you then.